Podium, which is coming to you live from the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation with me, Asmiba. Our quote of the day comes from Dwight Eisenhower, who is the Supreme Commander of Allied Forces, and it says, if a political party does not have its foundation in determination to advance a cause that is right and that is moral, then it is not a political party, it is merely a conspiracy to seize power. Coming up into this edition of the program, the All People's Congress reacts to the Governance Transition Team report, describing it as full of factual errors and does not reflect the work of the APC government. Anti-Corruption Commission boss will be speaking to us on its plans to fight graft in the country. Our National Minerals Agency speaks on the recent developments in the mining sector. All these and more, including your messages, which you can send to 086373 The number again is 0863 It's Podium. The number to send your messages to 088373 The Anti-Corruption Commission was established to fight graft in Sierra Leone. Since its establishment, the commission has had 5 ACC commissioners, and last month the 6th commissioner was controversially approved by Parliament. Well, the less than 35-year-old ACC boss is coming at a time when many say corruption has eaten into the fabric of society, and many say the new commissioner has many things on his plate. Well, today we are talking to the newly appointed ACC Commissioner, Francis Ben Kaifala. Welcome to the program, Mr. Kaifala.
Thank you very much, Asmi.
What was your reaction first when your name was announced that it had pleased His Excellency to appoint you as the ACC Commissioner?
Well, I was very happy that I have an opportunity to serve my country, and it's been years of advocacy and raising issues, and now the opportunity was given to me. I was very happy, and I thank the President for that confidence.
Is this something you had wished for?
I have always wished to serve my country. It may not particularly have been in the ACC, but when the ACC came knocking, I was very happy.
Okay. And many people have described your appointment as very controversial, even the manner in which your predecessor was sacked, and also your coming in, and also even what went in Parliament, the opposition had to walk out. What do you make of all those developments?
Well, I think that these things, the appointment of the ACC Commissioner, like many other offices, are political, and one would rightly expect issues to come up, particularly from the political platform. But we have put that behind us now, and in fact, I just came from a meeting 5 minutes ago with the committee in Parliament on transparency, and the cooperation with Parliament has started to be very good. We've put behind us what happened, and I believe that they too are ready to work with me for us to push the fight against corruption forward. Okay,
many times people say in Africa an ACC boss is as powerful as the president wants him to be. What kind of political leverage, what kind of political independence have you received from the or are you planning to receive from the president?
So far, the indications coming from the president are great. I believe if that is the saying in Africa, then I'm the luckiest ACC commissioner, because the president has not tied my hands, and he has given me the confidence that he is behind me in the fight against corruption, and I have the confidence of his entire administration. Cooperating with them has been so far wonderful, and I believe they are sincere in their commitment to the fight against corruption, and they are ready to give me the support to do that as commissioner.
Okay, your strength in the fight against corruption is going to be tested when members of this current administration, for instance, begin to engage in activities that would invite the ACC. That's the time that people will begin to know whether the independence you are talking about, whether you are enjoying it, or whether your pulse is really there to fight corruption. Do you agree with that?
I think that the fight against corruption is not separated by who is being sought after now and who will be sought after in the future. It's going to be a continuous process, and as far as I'm concerned, people in different political prisms don't really matter much to me. It's a question of whether the person is engaging in what is covered under the ACC Act as corrupt practices or corruption, which we have mandate to investigate, and we will investigate. So I don't even think it is going to be a test. It is just going to be a manifestation of what we at the ACC will be doing. And if anybody is somewhere thinking that they will receive a special or different kind of treatment because they belong to a particular political leaning, I would rather tell them, let them not try it, because the same treatment that will befall anyone now will be the same later.
Okay, like I said in my intro, we've had almost 5 past commissioners of ACC. Each one of them came with his own idea, his own zest, his own drive. What are you coming with? Which direction do you want to take the ACC to?
My direction is to show to the people of Sierra Leone that the fight against corruption can be real. I want to bring in a belief amongst the population, both the governed and the people who elected them, people who are in appointed offices, people who hold positions of trust, and people who receive monies on behalf of Sierra Leone, that this is not going to be business as usual. We know that various commissioners have come and gone, but the fight against corruption, particularly in recent times, the perception of people, 2013 we were rated as the most corrupt country in the world. That came almost 13 years after the ACC was established. I intend to show that that kind of statistics is bad for Sierra Leone, and we can reverse it, we can change it. And I am going to back my pronouncements with action. And I believe that will be a new direction as far as the fight against corruption is concerned.
How did you make the ACC? What did you inherit? What kind of ACC did you inherit?
Well, I inherited an ACC that, particularly the staff, the motivation was low and the drive was down. And I also inherited an ACC where the perception of the public in respect of the fight against corruption was very low. I also met an ACC that is struggling with resources, that is supposed to fuel their activities, and I intend to work with the partners involved, to work with the almost 200 staff that are there, to work with the government, and to work with everybody, every stakeholder in the fight against corruption, to make sure we change that. We reposition and align ourselves better for the fight against corruption, and hopefully before even we finish a year, we are going to see that things are going to be different.
Have you gone through the books to know where your predecessors, if they failed, where they failed and why they failed?
The good thing is I have myself been very involved in works that have to do with corruption. In fact, recently I did a huge research in that regard. And I have also been friends with various commissioners over the years. And I have had a lot of consultation with people who have given me their ideas and views. I have also read a lot around corruption and how to fight it, particularly in Africa, but in Sierra Leone in general. And I think I have a pretty good idea as to why they failed. And I intend to attack from that very position where they failed.
And where did they fail?
Firstly, I believe that they had the misfortune of not having the serious political will behind them, and they were not ready to canvass it enough. Secondly, I don't think they took the people along in the fight against corruption. They relied a lot on themselves and the promises that politicians would make to them. But I believe the fight against corruption is not mostly about those who you are actually going to go after. It's about those who are there, who receive the information, who are the ones who see what is happening, who are touched most by the wrongs that are happening in society, and they are ready to give you support in your work. It is also about the staff, the motivated people who work with you as commissioner in the commission. They are the investigators. They are the ones who work in systems and processes. They are the ones who do the administrative work. They are mostly the ones who do everything. You take the hard decisions, you sign papers, you give the approvals, but they are the men on the ground. Bringing them along, making sure that they share in your views, visions, and aspirations is the beginning of your success.
So what kind of firewall have you in the ACC? Because in the past, people have accused the ACC of letting certain information out, helping those who have been investigated with vital information that should not be known to them. The ACC has been accused of that.
One of the first things I did when I got to the ACC was to review the oath that is taken by every staff of the ACC as far as information access and sharing is concerned and the consequences that go with it. I made sure I reviewed it, and I gave instructions to the HR department to make sure every staff of the ACC signs it. I was the first person who signed the new revised version of that particular oath, and I have made them know that I am ready to set examples. I will not take leaking information lightly. I will not even take treating information in a way that is likely to cause other people to have access to it. And I'm ready to set examples. Okay. Examples we think are as important as examples outside as far as this kind of fight is concerned. And I think they all understand that I mean business when I say so. But I am looking forward to the first person who is going to try it, and we'll see.
He is Francis Ben Kaifala, the newly appointed ACC Commissioner. The program is Podium, reaching you from Freetown. Send your message to the number you see on the screen, that's 0883733504. The People's Congress Party has reacted to the governance transition report, which was launched 1 week ago by the governance transition team. Well, Dr. Samuel Kamara, the former flag bearer of the APC in the 2018 elections, described the report as full of factual errors and does not reflect the work of the People's Congress in the past 10 years. Well, he made a statement during a press conference organized by the party to give their own reaction. Well, in the studio is Ali Conte, a member of the APC Youth League, to talk on this. Welcome to the program, Mr. Conte.
Thank you.
It seems as if your party has taken with a pinch of salt the report in its entirety. Is there nothing good about the report? Is there nothing true about this report?
Well, as a party, immediately the report was presented to His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio. In that, the issues contained in the report indicted the APC government and its functionary, especially the leadership, the former President Dr. Anesbai Koroma. And the All People's Congress Party called its leadership to see how best we can put up a press release, and in that press release we assured our membership and the country at large that we are going to look at the report, and the party will be coming out with a statement, and we summoned the senior leadership of the party, and we went through the report, and yesterday, the 10th of July, the report was, our findings were made public to the press, and as far as we are concerned, the All People's Congress Party rejects the findings of the GTT report in its entirety.
You reject it because some of your members were named in it?
No. If you can go through the statement of the National Secretary General of the All People's Congress Party, Ambassador Osman Fode Asane, he made it categorically clear that the APC party and those that are mentioned in the report will ensure that we will present those individuals in a competent court of law or tribunal, wherein most of our members that are already out of the country will be asked to come and face a competent court of law. But the unfortunate thing here with regards to the report is that according to its findings, that before 2007, the SLPP was in governance. When President Koroma won power in 2007, we set up a commission of inquiry wherein the members of the SLPP were included in that commission of inquiry. The PMDC and other civil society organizations were in that commission of inquiry, and its findings were submitted to the then President Koroma, who were expecting the SLPP committee also to do the same. But now they have already put the cat before the
But the SLPP didn't act wrongly. The President Koroma chose to make, according in your own words, make it a broad-based transition team, and President Julius Maada Bio decided to do it in his own way. It is not illegal.
Yeah, well, it is
Both
not. It is not.
The two presidents chose different routes.
Yeah, of course, it is not illegal as far as we are concerned, but we want a report assessing or stock taking the activities of the past government for those individuals to be independent in mind. But looking at the composition of the transition team, you know, these are die-hearted SLPP members, and you know, if you ask SLPP members to assess or evaluate the report card of the APC, even if they happens to give us 2%, we will say we are lucky for that one. But when the SLPP came to power in 2018, we started hearing all sorts of condemnation, and at the end of the day, a report was released, and in that report, individuals that were made mention with regards to the report and some of their findings, the APC has rejected, and some of those findings, as we are saying, they are factual errors.
Mr. Conte, the transition team visited ministries, departments, and agencies.
Yes.
They spoke to people. They reviewed documents. So they didn't manufacture the information. They didn't manufacture the document. They reviewed documents that they met in the offices that the former ministers sat.
Yeah, but let's go
so
back.
They didn't come with fresh documents.
Yes, yes. Ask me. Let's go back to the document itself, the report. When you go to the executive summary, page 2, the last paragraph, it talks about inclusive governance. They made a statement there that former President Nkrumah pursued a policy of tribalism and regionalism. I think there is no document in the ministry or even at State House where they were able to find at this particular statement.
But the committee, for instance, in NRA, when you look at the GTT report, NRA, for instance, they showed the senior management cadre, the region that they hail from, and their ethnic groups.
This is what we are afraid of now, because the report itself has attempted to bring tribalism, dangerous tribalism, into the activities of government in this country. Because making an assertion that President Nkrumah pursued a policy where in Mendes we are deliberately sacked from offices and replacing them with Temines and Limbas. You know, Sierra Leone, we should move beyond that now. This is the 21st century. I did not ask the Creator, the Almighty God, for me to be a Limba or a Temine. You know, it's the wish of God. So people should not be judged based on their tribe or the region where they hail from. These are some of the dangerous things that were included in this national report.
I'm not defending the team, but maybe what they were trying to bring out was to substantiate their own point that the former administration gave job to Northerners, naming 2 ethnic groups more. They cited the NRA as an example.
Yeah, ask me. I've gone through the last pages of the report where in that particular breakdown was made mention about. But let me just say this again. If you look at the total votes the SLPP received in the north, it is as a result of those votes that led to President Bio becoming president today. Looking at this particular categorization of Northerners at state institutions is very, very dangerous. Because if you go, a name was mentioned, Ibrahim Sori of the NRA. Yes, he's a Limba man from the north, but he's a strong SLPP supporter. President Bio to gain power. Now even my sister in town called Limba, a Limba lady, the chair lady for SLPP in town called Limba, no one can change that one. Now if you are saying President Nkrumah employed a policy, and me being a management student, knowing what a policy is, right? A policy emanates from the system, and from the system it goes to the agenda of the government, and it goes through parliament for that policy to be implemented. Saying that it was a policy pursued by President Nkrumah, we are afraid, and we are calling on the professor or His Excellency the President, because the report has already been presented to him, for him to ensure that some of these things.
But the president has given his blessing.
Yeah,
the other day an emergency cabinet was held,
yes,
and cabinet has adopted the document. So it is now a government policy, meaning a commission of inquiry is going to be established.
As far as we are concerned, the APC is not against accountability. The APC has enacted one of the strongest anti-corruption laws in Africa. When the President Nkrumah came in 2008, before 2008, the anti-corruption before prosecuting has to go through the office of the Attorney General. Now the anti-corruption can charge to court directly. These are the laws that were enacted by the APC government, and the APC government has indicted more individuals when it was in power towards the fight against corruption than any other government.
The argument that the SLP is using to say that the APC was corrupt, was more corrupt than them.
Well, what we are saying here is the Secretary General and us as young people in the APC party, we are saying if the SLPP, which is part of their manifesto to fight against corruption, want to fight corruption, let it don't be selective. And as we are saying, I've gone through the report, and it is now a daily document that I'm reading. We have a lot of factual errors there. You ask me, you can accept here that in the report, if you go to page 100, Ministry of Youth Affairs and National Youth Commission. It was emphatically made mention there that the Ministry of Youth Affairs is an extension of the APC National Youth League, and the National Youth Commission also is an extension of the APC National Youth League. You can admit here that the fight, the then Minister of Youth Affairs was the president of the APC National Youth League under President Kwame in 2013-2014. But there was always a disagreement between the Commissioner of the National Youth Commission and the Minister of Youth Affairs, saying that policies, programs that have been implemented by the Ministry, by National Youth Commission, should be implemented by the Ministry of Youth Affairs. There was always those controversies or arguments between those individuals. So saying that the Ministry of Youth Affairs is an extension of the APC National Youth League, we as members of
maybe the committee look at the composition of the Ministry of Youth and also the composition of the Youth Commission, those who are there.
The Youth Commissioner, I can say, was the personal assistant to the then Dennis Bright, of the then Minister of Education, Youth and Sport under the SLPP. He's the Commissioner of the National Youth Commission.
He is Ali Conte. The program is Podium, coming to you from Freetown. Let's go to another issue. The National Minerals Agency is a body that is responsible to regulate the mining industry in Sierra Leone. The agency, since its establishment, has introduced many laws to sanitize the mining sector. Well, since the new government came to power, a new diamond was found, and later another one was found, but later it was discovered it was not a diamond, it was just a mere stone. Well, Ibrahim Satikama is the Director of Community Affairs, Communications and Public Relations of the National Minerals Agency. Welcome to the program, Satikama.
Good afternoon, Asmi. Good afternoon, viewers.
Okay, bring us up to speed. What's happening in the agency since this new administration came to power?
Yeah, well, as we have always maintained in the National Minerals Agency, the mineral wealth of this country belongs to the people of Sierra Leone. We are merely custodians of that wealth. And from time to time, we regularly update the general public on our stewardship of their mineral wealth. And so far, we are going through very challenging times in the sector. But that notwithstanding, we continue to explore avenues and opportunities to make sure that the people of Sierra Leone derive maximum benefits from their mineral wealth. And this we have been able to do over the years. I'm here to explain, for example, for the past 6 months generally, and specifically for the period under this new administration, the amount of contribution we have been able to make to national development, the contribution we have been able to make to government revenue, and by extension to ensure that the people of this country benefit from their mineral wealth. Now, principally,
so tell us more about that in terms of
revenue
generation, especially revenue that is coming from the mineral sector.
Yeah, that's one principal area where the people look up to for the sector in terms of revenue generation. And so far, our contribution in terms of revenue since April 4th to date, we have generated a total amount of $9 million, and that's revenue collected in dollars, and 1.2 billion loans. If we use a conservative figure of 8,000 loans to the dollar, that translates to 73.2 billion loans generated from the revenue from the mineral sector within this period. But we must also understand beyond this,
you can think that amount of money is huge, but if you pump it into the economy, one would say just like a drop in the ocean.
Well, beyond that, we are talking about a period after most of the mining companies had paid, for example, their license fees, their other taxes, etc. So if we extend the period to say 6 months, for example, we can see that total withholding tax paid by mining companies, large-scale mining companies, just large scale, is $2.9 million payee tax, because these companies made several payments to government. They pay royalty, they pay payee, they pay to the NACIT contribution, they pay income tax, etc. Pay tax, for example, was $15.5 million, income tax $5.6 million, payroll tax $167,000, and NACIT contribution $3.1 million. If you add all that, just this tax revenue, it translates to something like $27.4 million for this period. You need to also understand that royalty comes on board, which translates to something like $15 million. We are talking at least about significant contribution being made by the mining sector to the revenue of.
So, Mr. Kamara, in as much as you've painted this rosy picture, now let us look at what we are losing out. Many times, civil society, for instance, say what we lose is more than what we gain.
Well, what we must understand is that the sector is presently in transition. We are
From
pleased
what
by
to,
the well. Generally, we don't make the laws. We implement the laws as they are.
But you advise for good laws to be made.
Exactly, and based on this advice, that's why I say we are pleased by the commitment of the present government to change things. For example, they've made a commitment to revise the laws, and we think that's long overdue.
The Mines and Minerals Act?
Yes, and they've made a commitment to also renegotiate mining contracts. That's also due because most of these contracts, take the Sierra agreement, for example, it's long been due for renegotiation. So with all these commitments, we are going to change things.
But where was the enemy when some of these agreements you had entered into?
That's why I say my purpose for being here is, first of all, to give a status update and also let the public know the way forward, the direction we are moving towards. You must understand that the National Minerals Agency was established by an Act of Parliament in 2012. We started operation in 2013, and the Mines and Minerals Act that we are talking about was signed in 2009. The Sierra Agreement, for example, dates back to, I think they said the last ratification was in 2002. But anyway, it predates the National Minerals Agency. We talk of the former African Minerals Agreement, which has still inherited, dates to like 2011, the Corridor Agreement 2010. The point is that most of these acts and agreements predate the forming or the coming to operations of the National Minerals Agency. And as I said earlier, as an agency, we don't make the laws, we implement the laws that are there. We implement the agreement, we make sure that mining companies comply with their agreement. But one positive development, as I said, the new government has made a commitment to change things, and we've seen that being demonstrated. One positive commitment is that yesterday, for example, they passed into law the extractive sector revenue bill, which is a bill that consolidates the fiscal regime basically for the mineral sector. It means that all government agencies, in the coming days, we shall be bringing the experts in that particular area to talk more of the bill. But I think the important thing here is that we now have a bill that addresses revenue for the mineral sector in a holistic manner and in a way that will ensure more benefits for the people of Sierra Leone.
He is Ibrahim Sati Kamara, the Director of Community Affairs, Communications and Public Relations of the National Minerals Agency. The program is Podium, coming to you completely. Mr. Kaifala, in less than 2 weeks since you came to office, the government transition team released its report, and also the issue of the Hajj Gate came out, and the SAC has expressed interest into the GTT reports. Has investigation begun already? Have you already selected the areas that you think are of interest to the ACC?
In the GTT report?
Yeah, let's start with that first.
Yes, as I speak with you, a team from seasoned investigators already working, combing through the report to bring out areas that are of interest to the Commission. I am expecting to get a briefing from them by Monday. I have myself looked at it, and I have my own impressions, but I'm waiting for the team to brief me. Then we can all synchronize on the way forward. But definitely that report is of importance to us because it identifies areas that show how loopholes have existed into the system for individuals to operate a racket, to enrich themselves at the expense of the ordinary Sierra Leoneans who voted them in power, who gave them positions of authority, from which they benefit a lot already. We at the Commission are going to treat it seriously, and we intend to bring it within our mandate under the Act and to prosecute where necessary those who are involved in those kinds of corrupt practices. This morning, I was with the Chief Justice and his team, and we visited the special court premises where we've already identified the anti-corruption court. We've already had briefings, and we already have earmarked a serious judge who is going to be the anti-corruption judge. And we are hoping...
So all anti-corruption matters are going to be directed to his court?
All anti-corruption matters are going to be directed to that court. We are expecting that 2 judges will be sitting in the anti-corruption court, but on separate files, because we want the turnover of corruption cases to be faster and better managed so that the people of Sierra Leone can have fast enough results, and for everybody to know that the fight against corruption is serious. And the special court building is of particular significance because it was a building that is symbolic of the end of the civil war that we had, that has repositioned us for the future. And since we are taking a new positioning for the fight against corruption and we have declared a war on it, we believe that building is going to help us also reduce, if not eradicate, corruption.
Are people not going to be double punished, for instance, on the GTTI because they, shortly from now, maybe in a few weeks or months or whatever, the presidents would have established, they would have appointed a judge to sit in that commission of inquiry, and people are going to go forward to it. And also, how would the ACC also come out and are people not going to be double punished?
No, no, no.
If they are found wanting?
No, no, no. The mandate of the commission will be clear. They will make recommendations which will be acted upon. But crime is crime.
So you are going to press charges after the commission of inquiry ends its work?
The commission engages in criminal investigations. Crime is crime. There is no recommendation needed for crime. If somebody is guilty for crime, the person should face the punishment prescribed by law. That has nothing to do with the commission of inquiry, which may have things like seizing assets and all, everything that goes with it. But we are not really that particularly interested in seizing assets. We are interested in people being punished for the wrongs they have done to Sierra Leone, whilst they occupied positions of trust or they were in positions where they received and handled money on behalf of Sierra Leone. So I don't see any conflict at all. I believe that both are working towards the same end, and 2 roads.
What about the Hardgate? Last week we saw the former Vice President and the former Minister of Mines, Alhaji Minkailu Mansari. For the former Vice President, I think he now knows what he is being accused of. As for Minkailu, I think investigation is still ongoing, right? Am I right?
Investigation is still ongoing. I don't even believe even the former Vice President knows fully what he's being accused of, because the investigations are still open. The charges are likely to be expanded.
But some charges have been made.
Yes, that is some charges, but he does not know what is coming after. And I can assure you we are reviewing conscientiously that file to make sure that enough comes up. It may be that, in fact, the charges against him may not be what it is now. But a review is taking place. I have personally spoken to both of them, and I have assured them that they will be treated fairly, but justice is going to take its course, and we are investigating into that file.
Is it that your predecessor did not do due diligence, that when you came in you had to open it again and revisited it?
Well, I don't know very much what were the conditions of my predecessor or what led to his own judgments and decisions. But I know for sure that when I took the file, the first thing I did was to go through it personally. I formed my own impressions. I then summoned the Director of Investigations and his team that was dealing with this file, and I put simple questions to them. This file, this particular aspect ought to have been looked at. Did you look at it? Some they say yes, some they say no, we did not, and they gave their reasons. But it was clear from that meeting that there was a lot more which had not been looked into. and I summoned a joint meeting of both the prosecutors and the investigators, and we all agreed that there were areas which needed to be looked into. And that is exactly what is being done now, to look into them, to see where it goes. And those are really serious issues, because the charges were brought from only the tip of the iceberg. The main one, which is still under the water, is what we are looking into.
And it is highly likely that more names are also going to be mentioned, fresh names.
It is very likely that more names are going to be mentioned. Above all, it is very likely that the scale of conspiracy involved with the Hajj file is a lot more than has been known to the people of Sierra Leone, and we are looking into it.
It is Francis Ben Kaifara, the ACC Commissioner. The program is Podium. We are going for a short break. After the break, the program continues. Including your messages which you can send to 0883735574. Program is every day. Podium brings to you issues that you will not see on other channels. Rely on Podium for the latest news. We are back with the program Podium, which is coming to you from Freetown with me, Asmi. Our message of coming first one says the former president established transition report. He never exposed the SWP during the late Kaba because Kuruma intended to be a corrupt leader. So if President Bio decided to get rid of corruption, so let it be. Sierra Leone come first, no party comes first. John said, Mr. Kaifala, let those listed in the name of corruption be treated to the fullest. Most of their corrupt practices were done during the state of emergency. This one says, Podium, please tell the APC panelists that all that some of us are waiting for now is to submit APC corruption documents to the Commission of Inquiry. Period is coming from Kai S. Banya. After that, everyone says, it says, Mr. Ba, I like the quote of the day. Can you please go over it? It's coming from Lanson at Wilkinson Road. This one said, the question is for the APC youth leader. How will you explain the promotion of Mr. Edmund Kuruma as financial secretary after he was found guilty of massive corruption in Nasi? It's coming from Rashid in Clyde-Town. This one says, Ali Conte, please know that there is a difference between stock taking and evaluation. Stock taking cannot be done in vacuum. More importantly, I want Ali to know that the mental capacity of the two parties are not the same. This one says, some members of the former government keep referring to the transition report as a witch hunt, but who are the witches this government's hunting? If members of the APC party are not witched and their hands are clean, there is no reason for them to be jittery of the witch hunter. Only the guilties are afraid. The final one says, Mr. Commissioner, please work with the photographers for pictorial evidences. The final one for now says, what if the culprits are ready to pay the monies after being found guilty by the ACC? Will there still be punishment? It's coming from Ian Cole. Well, keep sending the message to your number I see on the screen. Ali, now let's go through the report itself proper. I have also perused it from pillar to post. An interesting text that, for instance, Edmond Koma, the media, we did report that the Edmond Koma, the issue of the Nassid ferry, and people say later he was promoted, and former ACC Commissioner Joseph Fitzgerald Kamara made it out of court settlement. According to the reports, it cost around $4 million, and Edmond was asked to pay around little over $400,000. And people say that was not a good deal for the country, and the country lost woefully on that, and the report brought that out. Can the APC also challenge that?
Yeah, I think we've challenged the whole GTT report in its entirety. According to the APC, we agree that the report itself is selective in its findings, right? If you can make mention of Mr. Edmond Koma, what is also wrong with Mohamed Soare, who was the procurement officer at the Ministry of Health during the fight against Ebola? He was summoned to Parliament, fined, and recommendations or sanctions were also placed on him. Why was during this regime he has been promoted?
But he said the ACC gave him a clean bill of health.
We are yet to understand. There are other individuals like the secretary to the GTT committee, Dr. Dennis Sandy, was the Minister of Lands. He was sacked. He never resigned. Now he's all over the place. What we are saying here
Do you know why he was sacked?
You cannot be performing very well and you are sacked.
But sometimes it doesn't mean that because you are sacked, it means you had involved in corruption. It doesn't mean that.
What we are saying here is the issue of the presentation of the report should not be selective, right? As far as we are concerned as a party, the chairman of the committee, Professor Francis, made assertions that non-APC officials and supporters with reckless abandon, we are just engaged. This is a deliberate attempt to smear the images of APC people. And as far as we are concerned, we are the young party supporters will continue to stand by the leadership of our party and will ensure that justice should be seen to be done and it should not be selective. There is no minister in government who is a signatory to most of the votes in ministries. Right? You have the permanent secretaries. Those are the people, they are the professional heads of this ministry.
Ali, what about the sale of government's property? Remember, the report also said few months, even in March when the election was to be held, according to the report, some government's properties were sold. They even mentioned the former SLSC properties around Sporo. They said it was sold to John Cisse, who is a cousin to the president. Are these things that the APC going to refute?
This is not the first time. If you can investigate on the sales of government properties, the low-cost housing at Kisi were sold during the previous government of the SLPP. We know, let the justice don't be selective, right? We are calling that if we want to fight corruption, don't pick on individual, let's fight it holistically. We as young people in the APC party will give support to that particular fight. But if the fight is selective, we'll resist that one and we'll continue to talk to the government that the government is not here for a selective group of people. The government is here for Sierra Leoneans, and we are Sierra Leoneans. If any individual is said to be involved in corruption, we are calling on the Anti-Corruption Commission not to be selective in carrying out their investigations. As far as we are concerned as a party, the individuals in the APC party, those names that are mentioned in the transition report have already been found guilty by the report. As far as we know, the report have its TOI, in terms of reference. It's for them to investigate, present an interface between the former government and this government, and to also ensure that we have a smooth transition where this government will sail in. With regards to their findings, they should have presented them, and commission or cabinet and not to accept whatever that is in those recommendations or in the report.
So as a party, are you ready to face the Commission of Inquiry?
Of course, the Secretary General has already indicated that the APC, with our members that are already out of the country, will call on them to come in and to ensure that will only present our individuals a competent court of law or a tribunal, not like this what we are seeing now.
But that is what the president has assured the nation, that a commission of inquiry is going to be established. Don't you trust that?
A competent court of law and a competent tribunal, the APC will cooperate and will ensure that the fight against corruption will win.
I mean, what's your own estimation or definition of competent court or competent commission of inquiry?
I think
what's the party's definition of that?
As far as I know, the GTT committee, we are given terms of references, and the terms of references are very clear. But now the GTT committee has instituted itself to a court, to a tribunal, and they have already put, because the Secretary General of the committee has been going all over the place. That we go jail them, SO2 we go jail them, we go jail them. So people are, even without going through the due process, they have already been convicted, and we are seeing individuals whose names and reputations have been tarnished in this report. We saw the former minister, Dr. Soko Kabia. He came and refute most of the things that but the mere mentioning of his name in the report, he has already challenged that one. And we saw Dr. Julius Spencer, even with regards to the infrastructural development, Ministry of Works, right? That, like when you go through the report under the Ministry of Works,
we had a mention
that, like, yes,
Alaji Kemosi.
Well, not Alaji Kemosi say, like with regards to the implementation or the reconstruction of roads, the Mambolo Road, the Kamakwe Makeni Road. That these roads were part of the program of the Ministry of Works, but nothing was done in those roads. Then I tend to ask whether even the chairman of the commission knows Mange to Mambolo, because that road has been completed. Whether the chairman of the committee also know the road between Makeni and Kamakwe. Those roads are under construction. Recommendations were made. But you know, the whole thing about this report is an attempt by the commission or the GTT committee to really lie, to fabricate lies, and also I find guilty to the APC members who have diligently served this country. Thank
you very much, Ali Conte. Starting now, let us look at communities. If you go to communities where mining is going on, I will assure you that they are not happy. Well,
as me, I can tell you that things have changed significantly.
When these things change?
For the past 2 or 3 years, things have changed.
Well, I would say less than 1 year. When
I will just give you the facts.
You talk to the community people. They are very much not happy.
You ask me, I will give you the facts as to what is going to these communities. First of all, let me make it very, very clear. As I said earlier on, we are going through very challenging times in the sector. When you consider, for example, the fact that about 2-3 years ago, we had 5 large-scale mining companies operating in the country. Presently, we have just 3. And the largest of those mines, which was making the largest contribution to government revenue, as we speak, is not operating. So we are relying on just 3 of the small mining companies that were operating in this country for revenue. Yet still we have been able to make all these report all these revenue generation that I've reported earlier. Now, coming to communities, for example, I can assure you that in this year alone, a total of 10 billion loans, over 10 billion loans, was paid to local communities as just surface rent. I can give you the individual breakdown.
Mr. Kamara, you can call that whooping amount 10 billion.
And this is exclusive of what is coming to government.
If you look at what individuals get out from that 10 billion loans, then you can know that 10 billion, yes, is big, but look at what what families are getting. Don't look at it in its entirety in the bulk way, 10 billion loans.
Again, as I said, we do not make the laws. I personally, as community director, believe that there are opportunities and there are sections of the law that needs to be revisited. I do not make the law. For example, if you look at the sharing arrangement, I think we can improve on that. But as it is now, that is what the law is.
Well, this law has been around for some time. Why didn't the enemy give advice for those laws to be revisited? Only now.
We gave advice. In fact, the process is well advanced because our laws are generally informed by policies. And we've already almost completed the formulation of a new minerals policy for Sierra Leone with support from the World Bank. That process is almost complete. It's now left for it to be taken to cabinet and then for it to be adopted by Parliament. Then we go to the stage of reversing the law. And as I said, this government has made that commitment. We've already seen that commitment being demonstrated, and we hope to see improvement. But the fact of the matter is 10 billion is going to come. That's just for surface rent. If you take, for example, the Agricultural Development Fund, in this year alone, 800 million loans was paid to communities. If you take the Diamond Area Community Development Funds, just to Diamond communities, we recently paid
Equate that into dollars.
800 million loans is about roughly, maybe I'm not too good in maths, but we can say it's about $100,000. And if you take,
is that
for
something
example,
you should be proud of?
but this is just one. This is just the Sierra Hotel community get, and this is in addition to other payments. If you take the Diamond Area Community Development Fund, for example, 3.3 billion loans we recently paid to communities. Before this time, communities were not getting all these benefits. If
Okay, Santi, we don't have much time now. Recently, a diamond was found. What's the latest? Give us development on that shortly.
Well, it has been exported under the laws of Sierra Leone, consistent with the provisions of the laws of Sierra Leone.
Okay.
The exporter was allowed to go with the diamond. He paid all his taxes, he paid royalty to government. Everything was done according to the
Well, let's go for the final text message. One says, corruption is the cause of all the problems we have in this country. Let them face the law. Some of us have the evidence coming from Dembaba in Godrich. One says, Mr. Ali, take it easy. All what Sierra Leoneans want you to be doing now as a party is to be talking to your people to cooperate with the courts. It's coming from MB Kalon. This one says, Mr. Francis Ben, you are such a young and energetic man. Do you think by going through the transitional document or investigating the outgone by body is the best way to minimize corruption? It's coming from Hassan. Mr. Kaifala, the war as you once described, the fight against corruption you are fighting is not only dangerous but life-threatening. Are you fully prepared to execute what you once referred to as war on corruption? This one says, witch hunt will catch witches just like how Ariobo catch witches. This one says, Sierra Leone must be corrupt-free before the SLPP leave office. Is coming from Aruna. If anyone says, Mr. ACC Commissioner, please, I want us to investigate NEC 39 Generate Road. We are former ward coordinators. We are forced to sign vouchers and the money was not given to them to implement the project in the ward's concern. It's coming from the ward coordinator. Francis, we don't have much time. You've had the text messages. Maybe your response. Let's come up.
Oh yes, the text messages, particularly people are asking whether I'm prepared for this.
Looking at your age, for instance.
Oh yes, I mean, my age is not the most significant here. I think it's about the will.
Would you be ready to step on big toes?
I
I remember when I interviewed Adi Macaulay when he was appointed, he said he was going to step on not only toes but on backs. And some people said they wonder whether he stepped on toes.
Well, I am ready to fight corruption. And if that corruption requires stepping on heads and toes, I'm ready to do it. So I can assure everybody that I am physically, mentally, and emotionally prepared for this. And I am going to do it to the best of my abilities.
If the political independence is compromised,
what do you mean by political independence is compromised?
if, like normally, if the independence you are looking for is not guaranteed
What will
from
happen?
the person who gave you the job.
I'll try to get the person to understand that.
I mean, in this case, I'm referring to the president.
Take
Take for instance Tijan Cole. I mean, some people said because he did not get the independence he was looking for, he resigned.
I don't think Tijan Cole was appointed, or he resigned under the president that appointed him.
No, he resigned under President Kouma. He was appointed by President Kouma, and he resigned under President Kouma.
Okay, well, what I can say in that regard is that I don't have any indications of this happening.
If it does,
I am fully confident that the
if it
current
does, because I don't know what the
president
future
is
holds.
sincere. Well, I don't expect it to happen because
If it does,
everybody, the president understands that he has to uphold the law, and the law says that the anti-corruption commissioner is independent and is not subject to the direction or authority of any person or body in the performance of his functions. And I don't think President Bill is ready to flag the law.
okay. Ali, in just a few seconds, what's going to be the role of the APC in the next few weeks from now on?
Yeah, we are calling on Sierra Leoneans that the APC have concluded its observation of the GTT report, and that we are calling on Sierra Leoneans to just read the report with a grain of salt because it is a bad government.
But some will say the APC also read the report with already a biased mind. Did you read it with an open mind?
Yes, of course, we read it with an open mind. But for me, I've been reading it and looking at most
Are
of their findings.
there areas that you accept? Say, okay, indeed, our guys went wrong.
Yeah, one thing that we accept is that the fight against corruption is an everybody affairs, and we will support that one. And with regards to
So are there areas that the party agree with the GTT report?
the whole report, as far as we are concerned, is a bad government document.
Is it not a sweeping statement to say the whole report?
Yeah, it's a bad government document.
Well, that's how we end this edition of Podium today. My guests have been Francis Ben Kaifala, the newly appointed ACC Commissioner. I want to wish you well, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
And Ali Conte from the APC Youth League. Well, his party has debunked the just released GTT report, and also Ibrahim Sati Kamara from the National Minerals Agency. On behalf of all of us and the production team, especially my dedicated producer Salma Taba, I've been your host Asimi Uba. Till we join you again tomorrow. God bless you. Goodbye.